Border Patrol says the accusation of migrants drinking out of toilets is completely untrue. Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Norma Torres. She toured 3 border facilities in Texas yesterday. Congresswoman, it is so great to have you here sharing what you saw with your own eyes in these facilities. Surely women are not drinking out of the toilets in these facilities. Did you see that?
I did not see women drinking out of the toilets. However, that is exactly what these women said to us, that there is no running water within the cell except for a flushable toilet. They were also using reusable throwaway cups, not plastic, but paper cups. You could tell that they had been used for maybe a couple of days because of how they looked. Those are inhumane conditions for adults, but can you imagine seeing babies, seeing toddlers in those conditions? The world ought to be outraged about what is happening here within our nation, and I call on the world to act and demand better.
Last week, when we heard about the deplorable conditions of children who there was apparently an influenza outbreak, they were sick, they had dirty diapers, there weren't adults around, there were some adolescents taking care of children. We were told that those conditions had been fixed. Did you see progress yesterday when you went in? Has anything been fixed?
I did not see progress. What I saw were jail cells, cement jail cells where children are being kept alone in group-like settings. Children that are sitting and sleeping on the floor with the air conditioner going full blast, wearing nothing but the dirty clothes and being covered with a aluminum type of sheet. Imagine your child having to live under those conditions. It is inhumane, it is embarrassing, and what we need to do is we need to send every single one of these border agents back to training, because they certainly haven't been versed on what is humane and inhumane.
Congressman, before we get to that Facebook group, which we will talk about how callous so many of the comments are on there. But first, Congressman Joaquin Castro somehow got a camera in. Our cameras are not allowed in. And he got a little bit of video of some of these cells, and you can see the overcrowding conditions, women on the floor, women just draping themselves in the thin blankets. Obviously these are not conditions that anyone would want to endure. But Congresswoman, as you know, there's been an influx of migrants. The situation is overcrowded. The officials there say they are overrun. They are overwhelmed. And so what's the answer?
I understand that they are overwhelmed and that they need resources, and so resources have been given to them. However, they have shown very poor, very little judgment on how it is to treat people that are in desperate condition, that are sick, and they're unable to care for these people. I have to say that it is unreasonable to also expect a border agent to have to change a dirty diaper. This is what management needs to step up and ensure that they are given all of the resources that they need. If we need babysitters there at those locations, then we should have babysitters to care for these children. If we need nurses there to care for the ill, we should be having nurses there. And if people are so sick that they have to be quarantined away from the rest of the detainees, then they should not be sleeping on the cold floor the way we saw them yesterday.
Okay, I want to get to...
I want to be sure.
Yes,
I want to make sure that you understand that the conditions have not changed a single bit from the last time where I was at one of these locations 8 months ago. I was definitely concerned. We were disrespected when we were there. We had a conversation with management about this article before we entered the location. Now, we were told that our staffs had to stay outside and that we had to keep either our phones there at the entryway or we had to leave them in the car. Now, I don't trust to leave my cell phone with these individuals that would threaten members of Congress while we are in the process of doing our job. Let me remind these people that this is our job. Oversight is our job, and that's what we were doing. And to threaten members of Congress, I certainly did not feel safe to be inside this location. I voiced those concerns, and I also voiced my concern for the safety of my staff that was left outside, and who was going to be taking care and ensuring that no attacks were going to be against our staff. And they reassured us of that, but certainly when we walked inside the facility, there were CBP agents that were taking photos, photos with us in the background. None of us had a cell phone to be able to record these actions by these agents. But imagine, this is what they are doing to members of Congress in front of their leadership. So you could imagine what happens behind closed doors within these ICE cells to children as young as 2 years old. If you're a parent or a grandparent out there, I would say, look at your child and go hug your child, because you would not want a law enforcement agent to treat your child the way we see those kids being treated.
Congresswoman, we can see how upset yesterday's visit made you. And what was it that was most upsetting to you?
What was more upsetting to me is the lack of respect for human life, the lack of disregard. The humanity of these children has been stripped away from them. The callous way in which these officers have shown themselves to be within a private Facebook page, a Facebook page where they thought they were talking only to themselves about their work. This is what I'm talking about. We need to send these folks back to training, and we need to ensure that the bad apples are not rotting the entire crop. This is almost half of the entire law enforcement within CBP, currently working in retired agents that were participating in this type of conversation against members of Congress.
It's hard to say that these were a few rogue agents when there are almost 10,000 members of this private Facebook
You cannot
group.
say that. We cannot say that they were rogue agents when the capacity and the number of agents behaving the way they have and acting out in front of their own bosses. Who is in charge at CBP? That's the question that we need to ask.